In business, the most dangerous threats are often the ones that wait in the background, invisible until the trap is already set. Andrew Carnegie had spent decades refining the production of steel, building a network of massive mills that dominated the American market. His empire relied on a single calculation, that the iron ore needed to feed his furnaces would remain cheap and accessible on the open market. But focusing exclusively on the factory floor leaves a gap at the start of the chain, a vulnerability to whoever owns the ground itself. When the raw source of an entire industry is consolidated into a single hand, the manufacturers downstream lose control over their own survival. John D. Rockefeller identified this gap. He realized that while Carnegie was building mills, the supply chain behind him was unprotected. Rockefeller had already consolidated the oil refining business by leveraging secret railroad alliances to dismantle his competition. He viewed the iron ranges of the Midwest as a mechanism to dictate terms to every steelmaker in the country. Reliability on the open market creates a risk, inviting an aggressive rival to seize the foundations of the business. This photograph captures the scale of the operation Rockefeller used to quietly purchase America's most productive iron deposits. He followed this with a logistical blockade, seizing the rail networks and shipping fleets required to move that ore. This was vertical integration in its most aggressive form, owning every link in the chain to dictate the price of entry for everyone else. Suddenly, Carnegie's furnaces could only burn if his fiercest rival allowed the ore to flow. Rockefeller raised the cost of raw materials for his competitors, while his own internal supply remained insulated from market fluctuations. This level of integration transforms a supply chain into a wall, allowing one man to starve an entire industry at will. The friction between these two giants eventually leaked out of the industrial sector and into the financial markets, threatening the stability of the entire economy. The tension forced J.P. Morgan to step in as an intermediary to prevent a systemic collapse. At this scale of wealth, the objective shifts from simple profit to the active control of market reality. Morgan determined that the only path to stability was for Carnegie to buy out Rockefeller's iron interests entirely. At the peak of the pyramid, capital is used as a lever to force a resolution on a national scale. In 1901, the deal was finalized. Rockefeller sold his iron interests to Morgan's syndicate for a figure that made him the wealthiest individual in history. Rockefeller's interest was never in the manufacturing of steel itself. He had positioned himself at the source to ensure he could dictate the eventual buyout. This consolidation resulted in the formation of U.S. Steel, the first corporation in history to be valued at over $1 billion. This remains a case study in closing a system, ensuring that the competition is forced to surrender by the very structure of the market. The iron squeeze of the 1900s serves as a template for modern titans who use foundational control to dominate their fields. Most businesses focus on competing for margins in the open market, missing the larger moves happening behind the scenes. These modern titans build their massive wealth by quietly acquiring the essential infrastructure that their rivals simply take for granted. Control of the final product is an illusion if someone else owns the resources required to create it.